Hi, welcome back. This is part 3 or episode 3 of a 3-part video series called Small Shifts for Big Impact on Your Reading Instruction. If you missed episode 1 or 2, you can check those out at our Keep Banana Learning YouTube channel. But stay with me today. You don't need to watch the other 2 to get something out of this third one, but definitely check it out because there's a lot of good content in each of these videos. My name is Morgan Mason. I am one of the professional learning specialists here at Keep Banana Learning, and let's dive into part 3. Alrighty, so part 3, we are going to talk about small shifts in the strategies that you're already familiar with and might already be currently using. So my goal for this series is to give you little things that you can change or modify or add to your current teaching practice that will better align with the research and what we now know about how the brain learns to read and better support your students. I know that everything going on in education right now can be super overwhelming. So my hope is that you can leave here with just little tidbits that will make you a stronger teacher and will align with those science of reading practices and the research that we have available to us. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is wait time. Now, as a teacher, I remember, especially with the littles, it feeling so awkward and feeling like I left so much time when it really wasn't that much time. So the first small shift that I'm going to challenge you to make is just practicing patience. Giving them more wait time than feels comfortable because sometimes children just need more processing time than what we think. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that in some of my trainings and reading and things that I've done is I've seen, which again, in the past and when I was a first grade teacher, I may have referenced a certain picture in the text or things like that to help the student figure out what that word is. Instead of looking at the picture and pointing to the picture, I want you to offer a simple tap of the finger on the text. So what that's going to do is that's just going to tell the student, and you don't have to say anything. You can just tap your finger right there, but that will tell the student and tell their brain that this is what they're working on, kind of just refocusing on, okay, I'm working on decoding that word right now. So just little tiny things. All right, so this is a routine that I actually read about in Shifting the Balance. And then I did a training with the authors of Shifting the Balance, Jan Berkins and Carrie Yates. They actually have this routine available for free on their website if you're interested in downloading it or looking at it more closely. But I want to talk about it briefly because I think it's just a small little thing that you could include in your teaching practice that kind of takes that the old way of how we used to do things and give it a little twist. So the look before you leap routine, and they call it paths to problem solving using V to MS rather than MSV. So in this routine, the first thing you're going to do is 1, carefully study the print from left to right. Number 2, then check using the meaning and the structure. So rather than sorting through a long list of strategies and applying them in a hit or miss fashion to try and figure out a word, you're having students using their meaning and the structure to figure out what that word is. And that's it. So again, you're not throwing out everything that you've always done before, but you're just taking what you've done and changing it a little bit to better fit how the brain learns to read and how we know that the brain learns to read. So again, you can download this routine. It has a really nice visual on the website if you're interested in that, but they have it available for educators to try out with their students. And the last shift, and I know that this one may seem obvious, but using assessments as a guide is so important when it comes to seeing where your students are. And I think that this is an important reminder for educators, because I know that when I was a classroom teacher, I used assessments all the time, but I didn't always use them as intentionally as I could. So I want you to ask yourself, whenever you are looking at errors or looking at assessment data, think about what decoding skills would have helped. So what were my students lacking? And specifically individual students. So not really looking at, yes, it's important to look at the class as a whole, especially to look for patterns or things that you are noticing a lot of students struggling with, but also looking at individual students and thinking like, okay, where are they at currently on this path to reading development? So again, not something that requires a bunch of extra planning or a bunch of extra work, but just as you are looking at assessments and using that to guide your instruction, thinking about, okay, what decoding skills would have actually helped the student succeed in this area? And that is it. So let's quickly review small shifts in the strategies that you are already using. So we talked about practicing patience and giving that extra little wait time. We talked about the look before you leap routine, which again, you can find that on the 6 Shifts website for free if you want the nice visual to go with it. And then the third is using assessments very intentionally. So how am I using that assessment to guide my instruction on every individual student? So thank you so much for joining me for this video series. Again, my name is Morgan Mason. I am one of the professional learning specialists here at Keep Banana Learning. I would love to connect with you, be a thought partner with you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I will also be hosting a workshop on December 7th where all of the stuff that we talked about during this video series, we're going to kind of dive deeper into. My hope is that whoever attends this workshop, whether it be a classroom teacher, an instructional coach, they would leave with a whole toolbox full of new strategies to support phonics and phonemic awareness instruction in the classroom. So science of reading aligned strategies, especially things that video series can be added to your instruction, or little modifications that you can make that will go a long way. So not throwing out everything we've ever done before, but just making little changes to better serve the students that are in our classroom. Thank you again for joining me, and I will hopefully see you in December.